Basilray, and today we're going to look at how I like to build my Kayfun 3.1 rebuildable tank style atomizer. A lot of the time, as of late, I've been using just a piece of 2mm Echo wool. Today we're going to do it a little bit different. This is Twik, T-W-I-K. It's available on eBay, and it is hollow Echo wool that has a piece of cotton threaded through the middle. You can buy this in 2-foot, I believe it's 2-foot increments, maybe it's 4-foot, I can't remember how much I bought. It certainly looks like more than 2 feet. It's about $5 a unit. A unit, again, is 2 feet. It's available on eBay. I'll put a link here in the description. I've never built it with Twik before, so this is kind of a new endeavor. Here are the parts of the Kayfun: the base, the tank body, the mouthpiece, the actual rebuildable portion, the little chimney, and here's the screw for the center post. So to start, I'm going to take and kind of put all of these pieces out of the way for right now. And we'll go ahead and we'll start with getting this coil built. So I have a piece of Twik. It is approximately a hand's width. This is about how much I start with and then trim off excess. Here's a piece of 28 gauge round canthal. And I have just a little super tiny Allen wrench. You could use a needle for this. I like to use an Allen wrench. What we're going to do is we're going to start by folding this piece of Twik in half. I'm then going to get it lined up here onto my Allen wrench and really try and hold it nice and firmly to give me a good space to wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this about 5 wraps or so, really trying to keep the wick nice and neat inside. 3, 4. Well, I mean, technically that is about 5 or 6 wraps. I pretty much only use my Kayfun on my Opus D, so as long as I get over an ohm on that DNA 20, I'm in good shape. So I'm going to kind of squish my coil together here. I'm not going to make a micro coil, but I want to get this somewhat snug, keep these wraps pretty close to each other, and I want to make sure that I've got a little bit of ability to slide this around my wicking material so that when I pull out the Allen wrench, which I just did, so now I'm left with just wire on Twik, that it moves around a bit. If you get it too tight, it just you're going to choke off sometimes your wicking ability. So here's my coil. It looks, as you can see, focus, focus, focus. Well, it's okay. It's not the greatest coil I've ever built, but I'm kind of trying to do this quick and easy. So for me, I like to get my legs split out pretty straight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to put these in the center here on the Kayfun, which I have both of the screws unscrewed. So both of these wires, you should be able to see here, are running. Let's get this thing focused. Autofocus, go away. There we go. Inside of the screws. So I'm going to take and I'm going to start, I usually start with the left side, and I wrap the wire around this screw and hold it in place with my thumb. The cat's meowing at the door. Then I'm going to take and tighten this down like so. And I do essentially this, and then obviously you're going to want to get that excess out of the way. We'll trim it up in a minute. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other side. So I'm going to hold it down, tighten it down. There. So from here, you really want to make sure that you have your coil placed above this center air hole. If you don't, you're not going to have an awesome time. So I've left just a little bit on each side of wire to allow me to kind of bend it back up. So now it's positioned directly above that air hole. So far, so good? Yeah. So let's take this nail clipper and trim off my excess wires. And you want to get this trimmed up as close to the screw post as you can. Don't snip your wick when you do this. If you leave too much wire overhanging, what will happen is that it's going to catch on a piece of the Kayfun, little chimney kind of evaporator portion. All right, so here we are, nice and neat and trimmed up. So now what I'm going to do is take and fold one side of this wick around and see how much I have. You can see it's hanging well off the edge here, because what we want to do is make sure that we get it wrapped up around where the screws are that protrude here. So this kind of top section here, you don't want to start getting it down into the threaded area, and you certainly don't want to have any in these wicking juice channels here. So what I'm actually going to do is just carefully pull out a little bit from the loose end. I don't actually snip this, I always just leave it looped, and it works pretty well. So when I fold it over, I want it to look pretty much like this, where it's going to meet up to the other side of the screws. I'm going to take and fold the other side around, and I want it to be approximately the same size and length. So what I do now is, you can use a scissors, you can use a nail clipper, whatever's easiest based on your wicking and what you have on hand. And I'm going to snip it. So now I have this little scrunched up S piece of wick. So here's the loose ends, here's this end, and they just make a nice little S here. And you want to make sure that you get this fairly neat, so that when we grab our chimney piece here, if you will, the evaporator or combustion chamber, that it slides right over the top. All your wicks fold up into it nice and neat. It doesn't have to be perfect here, because we will have the chance to adjust this. Mine are getting a little loosey-goosey. So let me just get them folded into place. Back in. There we are. And this is going to thread on nice and neat. And here's what it looks like inside. So a little bit messy. What I'm going to do is just take and push these wicks back down in. Neaten it out just a hair. And there. Now that's looking pretty darn good. All right. So from here, what we can do is actually, I have taken the base piece off. You don't have to do that to rebuild it. Sometimes it makes it a little bit easier because it gives you a flat place to sit. So I am going to put the center post back in. So the center post is what holds the entire base piece, which is meant to catch extra juice together. Oops. So I will screw this back in, like so. So now we're ready. We can put this on something like my DNA 20D. Give it a quick test fire and see what our resistance is. And it's saying check atomizer. There we go. 1.1 ohms. You're not going to see that very well. But everything's looking good. So from here, the smart move is to take a bottle of liquid, whatever liquid you're going to be using, put a few drops in, and just make sure that it's going to continue to fire. And it also primes up your wick. So I'm just going to put in 6-8 drops, just enough to really get my wick nice and saturated here. Give it a test fire. A couple more drops. Make sure we get good and absorbed here. And from here, what I like to do is put this little chimney piece on and take a couple of puffs and make sure that it's wicking well and everything is up and up. If it vapes like crap here, it's going to vape like crap when you have the whole thing put together. And if it vapes like crap here, you probably have too much wick. That is positively delightful. So I'm going to put just another drop or two in to keep the wicks good and primed. There we go. Chimney back on like so. Make sure you get the chimney screwed down nice and tight. If you don't, it tends to come off if you're a top filler. I don't have the fancy little syringe piece to make filling this easier, so I'm a top filler. Plus, then I don't have to worry about what bottle or bottles I have on hand in terms of how they're going to do this. So I've got some PB Dragon Mandarin Cupcake that I'm going to load this bad boy up with. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour. Now when you do it this way, you also want to make sure that you cover both the fill hole and this other air hole. And if you got big hands like I do, you can get all three, the actual air adjustment hole. And I'm going to go ahead and pour in, and where I want to get to is to the top, about halfway up the threads. So let's dump her in. About like so. I'm going to take the top, the entire assembled mouthpiece, screw this on. When I start to get it tight, I'm going to take it and invert it. And at this point, let it go. And there we go. We're filled up. We are ready to rock and roll. Could I have gotten a little more liquid in there? Sure, I could have. But just, as a prime fill, getting it going, this will suffice. So there you go. This is the build we just finished. I have to start by saying I love the Kayfun 3.1. Been using it predominantly, pretty much only with 2mm hollow echo wool. So this Twik is an interesting change. It doesn't seem to change the flavor at all. Tastes just like it does on echo wool. I usually run it at 13 watts. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up here to 15. You can't see that. What am I doing? And we'll see how it wicks. For me, I found that for a good chain vape, you're going to take 4, 5, 6 drags. You start pushing beyond 13, 13.5 with 2mm echo wool. You're going to start getting some less flavorful dry hits. Not totally dry, but you notice it's not wicking as well. So I have it set to, well, it's set exactly at 15.1. 1.2 ohms, that's 4.2 volts. Let's go ahead and just give it a few nice big inhales and see how it performs. No complaints there. A little bit warmer than I like it. Start to lose a little bit of flavor at 15 watts. Gonna bring it back down to 13 because 13 is really what gets me there on the Kayfun 3.1. But quick, easy build. Doesn't take but a couple of minutes to do once you get practiced at it. Obviously, it took a little bit longer just showing you step by step how I do it, but I can usually bang out a new build in 3 minutes or so, tops. That's trimming wire, trimming everything, getting it set up, getting it filled up, and off to vapor land. So there you have it. This is easily my favorite rebuildable atomizer of the current time. It is October 4th, 2013, government shutdown, anarchy in the streets, holy bejesus. But if you can get your hands on one of these, I highly recommend you do it. There's a quick, easy way to build it. Obviously, you can adjust the airflow. I've got mine fairly open. I like kind of a medium stiff draw. I'll probably close it back up a little bit here in the future. But stay tuned. The next video, we'll talk some about Twik, opposed to other wicking materials. So appreciate you tuning in. As always, my friends, take care, and I will catch you around Vapor World.
Cardiac ground zero, every move is starring you, and the world will turn to flowing pink vapors too.